An international public notice, Goodbye to Israel, NATO, and Occupation Duty, by Anna von Reitz. What a strange, fated, and serious day, one in which we bid farewell to the Knesset and the Sanhedrin and Benjamin Netanyahu and the whole genocidal Israeli government, together with AIPAC and the so-called Jewish lobby, which is actually an organization that knowingly or unknowingly funds Nazis. Nobody could make up the lies that are our constant companions and the foundations of governments. The ancient Sanhedrin, such as the one that condemned Jesus as the necromancer, is long gone, and so is the scriptural basis for membership in the Sanhedrin, which was inherited as part of a sacred birthright that can no longer be discerned because all the records and family lineages were destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Today, scholarship replaces lineage, and they try to say they have a Sanhedrin anyway. Take in the view. The very scholars who are the ones who are most likely to know the impossibility of convening a real Sanhedrin are the ones benefiting themselves from the pretense. While having an actual Sanhedrin is literally impossible, the prospect of a Knesset is within the realm of possibility. However, when such a body approves of and foments genocide and mercilessly murders a civilian population in pursuit of a commercial profit, they are no longer acting as a legislature, but have become a nest of pirates and outlaws instead. Take in the view. The Israeli legislature has approved carpet bombing in Gaza more severe than anything in World War II. Even the firebombing of Dresden. And having done it once, they approved doing it a second time. And then they authorized herding up the 2.5 million survivors and starving them to death by refusing to allow international rescue efforts access to the victims. So, the Knesset has crossed the line and can no longer be considered a legislature. So also, all the political payola spread around by AIPAC to members of the British territorial U.S. Congress comes into question and is published for the world to see. Plans for the East Sinai Canal, sometimes called Suez East, comes into public view, along with the plans to develop the Eastern Mediterranean oil basin and build a huge oil refinery and shipping complex right next to and concluding part of the Gaza Strip. Rear their ugly heads. Even Donald Trump, the golden boy, the great friend of Israel, the one who recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and opened the door for the do-it-yourself promoters of Armageddon, a man who mused about hotels and casinos replacing the homes of people shoved into a glorified internment camp somewhere in the Middle East, has to be taken aback, at least in public. The Kensington Palace plan to create a British territorial state of Israel and try to pass it off as an American Confederate state was perhaps the final straw. It's bad enough for the British to misinterpret their states of states as our states of states without trying to foist off the state of Israel on us. By now, it's not surprising, but Israel was never really meant to be a Jewish homeland, despite all the advertising hype. It was meant to be a military base for NATO, deep in the heart of the Arab world. That's what it is, and what it has always been, romantic notions about the Holy Land notwithstanding. As for the Israeli Defense Forces, cheap, unwitting mercenaries, just like the American armed forces. The only difference is, the perpetrators play Yankee Doodle and wave the Title IV flag for us, and play Hava Nagila and wave the Mogen David flag for them. Perhaps all this makes it real for people, a big picture view of how the bankers and the politicians manipulate the military, which is kept dependent on them and in the dark to carry out wars for profit in the name of national sovereignties that either never existed, Britain, for example, or which have been illegally purloined, like the United States. What should be apparent now about Israel is that it doesn't really have a legitimate organized court system, and what could have functioned as its legislature has devolved by its own acts into a patently criminal organization. Despite all the hand-wringing rhetoric about Israel's constant need for defense and failure to feed its own elderly and war widows because they spend all their money on bombs instead, deliberately starving 2.5 million helpless civilians has nothing to do with defense. It has to do with opportunities illegally seizing the Gaza Strip to promote commercial development options for Israel, which has long salivated over the oil wealth of the Arab nations and now, with the Eastern Mediterranean oil basin opening up, sees its chance for a piece of the action. No matter how many Palestinian lives it may cost, nor how unjust the seizure of the land and destruction of the existing infrastructure is. The American government wants nothing to do with Israel as it is currently conceived and run. We see no reason for us to sell Israel any more bombs, missiles, or drones, airplanes, or tanks. They didn't put the ones we already sent them to any truly defensive use. The same goes for NATO. After 80 years of paying all but about 5% of Western Europeans' defense costs, we're done. We're also done funding the wastrel European Union franchises and propping up obnoxious puppet politicians who care nothing about their own people or countries and who seem more interested in their next hit of cocaine or whatever outrageous perverted sexual experience they can dream up for themselves. Some people might see this as isolationism or nationalism of a bad kind, but we see it as a matter of practicality and common sense. Instead of taking the opportunity to rest and enjoy peacetime after a debilitating war, and instead of learning the lessons of that war, the various corporate franchises representing the national governments of the 17 occupied countries of Western Europe have continued to scheme and manipulate and engage in all manner of criminality and fraud against us and against each other. It is our intention to withdraw from any close association with them, just as you might leave behind any unsavory companions and be done with any responsibility for them. Like vicious octogenarians who have learned nothing from a lifetime of war and pain, the countries of Europe can continue to fight and scheme over control of their nursing home without us. Israel may have a right to exist, but their recent manipulations and actions have convinced us that their leadership has gone rabid and is deeply out of touch with the rest of humanity on basic issues. We want nothing more entanglement with Israel, NATO, or the 17 occupied countries of Western Europe. We are collecting our debts and washing our hands. And we, Americans, are instructing our federal subcontractors, the U.S. government, to do likewise. And we won't let the screen door hit us on our way out. Issued by Anna Maria Reisinger, fiduciary of the United States of America, unincorporated, Alaska, May 18th, 2025.